Hello and welcome. This video will be about using the Bootstrap documentation and how to use it to help you with your assignments. First, I want to mention that Mr. Gagelman, the instructor of the in-person HTML course, did an intro to Bootstrap a couple days ago. I suggest that you take a look at it. I added his video to the course playlist. There may be a little bit of overlap in this video and what he covered, just to let you know. So let's get started here. You know, there are many different frameworks in web application development. So you need to get familiar with using the official documentation that is available for each of these different frameworks. Okay. So let's see how to use this documentation. Okay. So if you just want to search for like Bootstrap versions, the first result here is the different versions that are available. So just a word of caution, so to speak, is, you know, a lot of times you're going to search for examples on how to do different things. We all do that for coding purposes, And I just wanted to, bring up that, you need to be careful that when you grab some pieces of code that, it's the correct version. Because some of the older code's not going to work with the newer, right? So Bootstrap actually has a lot of examples, information and examples for you to use. So a lot of times you won't really need to do a lot of searching outside of using the general documentation, the official documentation, right? So we're going to go ahead and use the latest major release, which is the 5.3. So we just click on here. It's going to go to the Get Started with Bootstrap. Okay. And so in here, you can go ahead and you'll learn to search for different things in here. Okay. So, we have things such as grids, we search, and here will be the grid system, and here will be an example, and it'll have all kinds of different example layouts. Okay. It gives descriptions on how to use it and understand different things, right? And then also, you can copy to clipboard. All these different layouts are available for you just to copy to clipboard, bring that into your editor, and make adjustments as needed. Okay. So let's take a look at our homework assignment. So basically, the first thing, you want to go ahead and get a template. You want to get the code you need to get the Bootstrap styles, right? So you can get started with this, right? So basically, go ahead and just click this link. It's going back to, I think, where we started. And I suggest using the Quick Start 2 here. And this will include both the Bootstrap CSS and JavaScript, okay? So you just go ahead and copy this to the clipboard, okay? And then let's go to our editor, and we go ahead and copy this in there. I already created an HTML file here, and so just copy and paste it in your editor. I wanted to go over this a little bit. So you've got two different things that were really a part of this. Two main things is the style sheet and also this JavaScript, right? So the style sheet is actually called, if you see it says min here, this is like minimum sized style sheet. Actually, if you copy that, put this in the editor here. I'll put this in a page. This is what the file looks like. Okay. A lot of the spacing's gone. Okay, and it's the whole purpose of this is to make this as small of a file as possible, so that it can be transmitted over the internet, over the network as quickly as possible. Okay. So basically, between this minimum file, the cascading style sheet minimum file, and there's a JavaScript minimum file. Between them two, that's pretty much the bulk of the Bootstrap framework. There are some other add-on files as well, but this is the bulk of that. This is the bulk of that framework. Okay. There are two ways to get the CSS file. So in this situation, we're just going ahead and getting it by the URL, right? You can also download all the Bootstrap files, and then you can link to them, via your directory where you stored those Bootstrap files at, right? But for our purposes, we're just going to use the URL, okay? And one thing I wanted to point out here in this URL is the CDN. And CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. And what that is there's a content delivery network is a group of servers that are all over the world, okay? And the purpose of that is so that the files that they store on those servers, they're special kind of servers. The files that they store on those servers are meant to get you this file very quickly, right? Here in this tag is we've got this integrity attribute, right? This integrity attribute is an attribute that allows the browser to check the file source to ensure the code is never loaded if the source has been changed or manipulated. So for some reason, if we point to a different version, okay, and we point to a different version than this one, this code, this set of characters is specific to that file. And if I change the version of that file, this will not load it. And I'll show you that here in a minute, okay? So I'm going to kind of just do just a quick little dive into this, because it's about security, and security is very important in the web development industry, right? So we'll spend a couple minutes on this. So what this really is called a hash, right? It's and if you see at the beginning here, it says SHA. Well, SHA stands for Secure Hashing Algorithm, right? And SHA is used in many applications, and in this case, it's used to verify data integrity. It's used to verify file is what is the correct file, right? And it hasn't been manipulated in any way, because it's possible for something to be manipulated over the network, and maybe a virus was implanted in it, and this is to verify that doesn't happen. And if for some reason that file does not match the hash that was assigned to it, then it will not work, okay? So like I said, SHA is used in many applications, and in this case, it's verifying data integrity, but it also can be used for encrypting passwords or creating digital signatures. Okay, and there's other uses as well. So one way that we actually used hashes on a project that I worked is we actually had this application that would allow the clients to upload files, right? Well, sometimes these clients would, forget, and they end up uploading a file more than one time. So what we would do is, in our program, we wrote some code that when a file comes in, it would create a hash, and then that hash would be put in a database table, okay? And so then the next time a file was uploaded, it would also create a hash. It would compare that hash to the hash that's in the database, and if that matched, that means it's the same file, and then we would send a message back to the user stating that it was a duplicate file, right? So that's a real world example of how that's used as well. Okay. So also, this is also called, a checksum. I just want to let you know that. I don't want to go too deep into this, okay? But the whole idea here for this integrity attribute is to make sure that this file is the correct file, right? And it hasn't been manipulated in any way. So I actually just wanted to go ahead and show you an example here how we can kind of test this a little bit, right? So I don't know if I save this. Let me open up Live Server. Okay, we got hello world there, right? And let's go back and make a change here. And to make it a little easier to see. So basically, the Bootstrap is a bunch of classes, right? So here's one of the classes that Bootstrap has, right? It's a background color. And we're going to do background dash info, okay? And let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to open it up in Live Server again. As you can see, here's that class that was applied to this H1 tag, right? So now let's go back to our code, and let's change this to a different version, right? Let's change this to version 5.3.2, which is a valid version, right? Actually, if we got rid of that whole integrity tag, this would still work. But since we have the integrity tag, since we changed this version, we save this and we go back to Open Live Server. As you can see, our formatting's gone, right? And that's all because of that integrity tag, and the browser checks that to verify that's the correct file, okay? So I'll actually prove real quick here. We'll just go ahead and get rid of this. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. We get rid of all that. And we'll save that. And now that we're not using that integrity tag on that anymore, right? If I go back to Live Server, you can see, and that was with the older version, right? We're going to be using that latest version. This is a version before that, and it's working, right? And we'll go back to our 3, and it should be the same. We should see it working. We don't have to spend too much time doing this. But let's go ahead and, go back to our original stuff there. So that should be how it was before we manipulated anything there. And there's our tag. Okay. So that's all good. Continue here with some examples here of this homework. So we've already got our base template, right? Let's go ahead and look at the nav bar. I have a link to the nav bar here. Like I said, you can either, you can use the links that are in the homework, or you can actually search for this. And different times you're going to need to search for different things. You could, search for nav bar right here as well, right? So we can go down here. Let's go down here. And so here's an example of this nav bar, okay? And we can just go ahead and copy this and go back to our editor. And let's get rid of this. Let's get some space so we don't mess up our script tag. We want to keep that kind of at the bottom there before the ending body tag, right? So I'm going to go ahead and paste our nav bar in there. Control S to save it. And then let's right click and do open with Live Server. And there you go. There's an example of a live navigation bar. Okay. It has drop downs, has a search criteria and a button. Okay. So you'll want to change this for, there's different nav bars to pick from the examples. This was just one of them. There's other ones to pick from as well. And no matter which one you pick, you're going to want to customize it for your own needs, right? Okay, here's a Bootstrap grid, right? So let's go ahead and look at a grid. So basically, these are different layouts that are available, right? So here's like 3 columns, right? 3 individual columns. And of course, you want to spend a little time here and there reading a little bit of this so you can understand how this stuff works a little bit. You don't have to read necessarily everything, but it's good to get in the habit of reading a little bit of this so you can understand what's going on, right? So here is a different layout. I'm thinking I want to grab a specific one here because I want to show you something. So let's grab this one here. And this has 2 rows. And let's copy that to clipboard. Okay, let's come in here. We can just leave that nav bar there for now. I'm going to go ahead and copy that here. So just go take a quick look. And as you see, these are your 2 rows. We're going to make a few changes to this so we can see some things a little better. See how it lines up on the page a little better. So first I wanted to go and I think I'll grab some content here. So let's go back. Let's go grab some content. And I don't know if you've heard of lorem ipsum, but this is dummy data that's been used for years. Okay, and you can create your own data. How many words, how many bytes, list, paragraphs, whatever you want to do. Hit generate, and it will generate dummy data for you. And this is good to use for testing purposes, so you can get a lot of content on a page. See how things line up in that and how the columns work, right? So for now, I think we'll just go ahead and grab, we're just going to go ahead and grab this one. Just going to grab the definition here. And we're going to go ahead and paste that into our different columns here. Okay, we got 4 different columns here, so we'll should see data in all 4 of those. And we hit save here. Let's do a open with live server. And as you can see, we've got 4 different columns here, right? It appears to be centered, right? Text centered. We're going to go ahead and, I think we want to go ahead and change that to be left justified, right? So, and then here's our second row, and I'm going to show you something with that as well here. So let's just work on getting that centered, right? So really it's going to be as simple as this. I mean, not centered, left justified. And one thing, to realize, some things change in, different versions of Bootstrap. So at one point in time, to left justify that text, you used to use left here, right? Like that. But that's not how this newer version of Bootstrap works. They use start and end, right? So what you're going to do here is you're going to do start, and that's going to left justify this. Okay, we're going to save this, and then we're going to take another look at this. And as you can see, it left justified everything, right? Okay. So let me show you something else here on the second row. And I'll tell you what, why don't we just go ahead and get rid of this first one. And so what I want to do here is I think I'm going to add background color so that we can see things a little better here. Let's do let's take a look at that. So we've got background color for both columns. This one is 8 units in width, and this one is 4 units, right? So one thing I did want to kind of point out to you, because sometimes it gets kind of tricky to making things, you know, position things in the right way, and it takes a while to get used to it, right? How to do things. So one thing you be careful with is, a lot of times you use margins and stuff like that, right? Um, and and if you use a margin on any of these, either one of these, I should say. So that's a margin. I gotta learn how to type here. That's a margin of one, right? So if you use a margin of one, what it's going to actually end up doing is it's going to push this down to the second row. Okay, just adding that little margin is going to push that down. So for some reason that you have margins, then that's something you're going to have to account for. Because all of a sudden, because basically a row will can contain up to 12 units, right? 8 and 4 is 12, but because you have a margin, it ends up pushing this down. So there's something to keep in mind when you're coding in that. And if you have some margins in there and wonder why that's not staying on the same line, it's because of that, right? Um, you can obviously change things. So it would work. So now you've got that, right? Okay, let's close these out. All right, what's next here? So that was a grid. Let's look at the carousel. And we're just going to go ahead and I think grab this first one here. So let's copy this to the clipboard. Okay. We can get rid of this. Keep things a little cleaner. So some of these example files, example snippets of code, they're going to contain like these three dots. Yeah, if you see three dots in these, you know, enclosed in quotes, these are things you're going to have to change, right? You have to add the correct alt tag and your image, right? So I have a few images ready to go here just to see this. Because if we, let's just say, let's take a look at this. So without the images, you're not seeing anything here, right? You'll see this little action going on, but no images, right? So we're gonna have to put an image in. We're gonna have to put some images in here. So let's put in LA. Oh, and here we wanted to do New York one. And here, let's go ahead and put that Chicago one. Let's go ahead and save that. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that. There we go. Now we have our carousel, and it's full screen, and you can move through the images, right? So let's say, though, we don't want a full screen carousel. We want something smaller than that. What would we do there? So what we can do on that is we can go up to the parent div tag, right? We have this class here. What we add here is we can add a width of, say, 50, right? And so this should make it half size of the screen, right? So let's go take a look. So there you go. Now you get half the screen. If you want to, let's say you want to center that, an easy way to do that would be to then do a margin, which is an M, and then auto. And let's save that, and let's take another look. And now we're in the center of our screen, right? In the middle of our screen. So something to play with, right? And you're going to want to make changes for your needs. There's other ones available as well. You know, that was just the first one here. They have one with these little indicators down below, right? like that, all right? This one has captions in it, all right? So take a look and make changes for your needs, right? Even though we're using these, examples, it's great that we've got these little examples to make life easier, but it's very important to learn what these, what the different classes are and how to use them as well, right? All right, what's next here? Got a lot of stuff open. Let's close some of this stuff out. Okay, so there was a carousel. So that's a homework assignment. That shouldn't be too bad. It's pretty basic, pretty simple for the most part. Here's lab. A little more work to do. I'm not going to necessarily go through every one of these, but just kind of wanted to at least get you started. Especially that homework one. I thought that would help you get started. Um, I did not link every single one of these. There's some that are linked and some aren't linked. And this is about the brand, Navbar brand. That goes to that. You can read about that. Okay. Let's close that one. I do want to go over Jumbotron a little bit because they did make some changes in this newer version, later versions of Bootstrap. And what you can do with this one, I think, is the best thing probably. Is here's a Jumbotron example, 5.3 example, and didn't mean to do that. And what you can go ahead and do here for this, I would just right click here. Let's copy this because that's the title, right? Let's right click and do view source, and then let's do Control F for find, right? And we got that custom, and it's going to go to the where that title is, right? Or well, the H1 tag. So let's just go ahead and grab that, right? And then we just go ahead and use that in our file here. Let's get rid of this. And let's take a look. So there's our custom Jumbotron. You're going to want to make some changes to it for your own purposes, background, whatever, maybe some margin, whatever, rounded corners, whatever, your purposes are. Just, but, this is one way you can just start with something, right? Kind of a starter for a Jumbotron, okay? Another Bootstrap grid. Let's go ahead and look at a Bootstrap card here. Okay. So this is what a card looks like. It can be, you can be a horizontal type thing or it can be a vertical card, right? So we're going to go ahead. Why don't we just go ahead and grab this one? It's going to have an image up top, and card title, and a button to go somewhere, right? Let's copy that, and let's drop that one in our editor. So, like I said, here's these three dots. You're going to want to change this, my card image, right? And then, we can use one of these images that I already have. Let's use LA. You can save that. Open that with Live Server, and there you go. There's your image up top, your card title, and a thing to go somewhere, right? Got rounded edges on these cards by default, right? So let's see what else we have. That's there'll be some other things for bootstrapping these. But, I just wanted to point out some things just to help you get started and get moving in the right direction, right? Let's see what we got here. Let's close that. We got the HOTS. So another Bootstrap card, another Jumbotron. Kind of went through that. Grid. Okay. I don't think there's too much of anything new there. Here's Flexbox in Bootstrap and also a Bootstrap accordion. Okay. Um, I don't think we'll go through those, but I think I do have it both linked there. So you can just come in here and go right to it, and you can read about your Flexbox options, right? And the same, let's make sure this works. Yep, and there's accordion. Same thing here. Now let's go ahead and grab one. I kind of like accordions, they're fun. Let's get rid of this. Let's see how it works out of the box. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. Oh, yeah, looks good. So there you go. Nice out of box accordion, right? So one thing also I want to keep in mind, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but you know this JavaScript file is used for certain things, and so you want to make sure that you have that there in your HTML file, because there's going to be some certain functionality that Bootstrap uses that JavaScript for. So you need to make sure that that's there. Okay. So let's see, custom cards. You look at that yourself. I don't think, not all of these are linked, you know, but some of them are. Most of them are. Okay, so that's all I have for today. I suggest you go take a look at Mr. Gagelman's video that's in this playlist, and he kind of did an introduction to Bootstrap, and should help you as well. So let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day. Thanks.